What's up, everybody? It's me, Roberto. I've actually ascended into the higher non-visible realms, so you can no longer see me, only hear me, but I am here sitting with you tonight, and I've got a great show lined up for you guys, and I thank you, as always, for joining me. Anyways, enough of that. Here I am, still stuck in this realm on Earth, if that's what we're calling it. Who knows? This alien generated holographic reality, whatever the fuck it is we're living in, until we're permanently on the new Earth. Anyways, I do appreciate you guys joining me tonight. And as always, I was pondering today. I was feeling very peaceful, almost to the point where it's like, oh, I don't feel like doing it. Because I was just in such a peaceful state. I did a lot of walking today. And that was something today I did I focused consciously on how I was walking. And I've mentioned this before. Hold on, I'm going to adjust. This looks a little crazy. And get it a little bit down there. I have spoke about this before, I think, in a short. But when you start becoming more present in the moment and more grounded in your body and consciously aware and anchored within your body rather than in your mind, that's when you start to really pay attention to how you're walking. And so if this is a review or repetitious for some of the people out there, I apologize. But for maybe new people who haven't heard me speak about this before, it's worth just noting a little bit. But when you start becoming conscious, inner body awareness and consciousness, things really start changing. So the way you do things, the how that you do things. So just even walking, I noticed when I'm in mind energy, say a few days ago, had a lot going on, things with work and, just out and about doing stuff and putting a lot of mileage on the old getaway sticks. And so but I was in mind energy a lot. I was in time. I had to be certain places. So, like time manipulates us, whether we like it or not, and very noticeable. And so after a few days of doing a lot of walking, but almost in mental energy, I got to get there, or, planning things. What am I going to, thinking about clients. I'm still on this journey of being absolutely present in the moment. And it's difficult, right? Especially out there in the real world, where it's pretty chaotic a lot of the time. It's difficult to stay heart-centered all the time, and so that's the tough work. And my apologies, I'm just going to move that page up. I made a few show notes because I wasn't sure what I wanted to speak about, so I had a bunch of ideas written down, but I think I've narrowed it down. But I have to finish my walking story first. And so I was feeling a little off. I was doing some qigong and the walking, but I felt like my body felt sore. And it's not like I put on extra mileage that, say, is unusual for me. So it's not like I walked 26 kilometers every day or anything like that. But it was the state in which I was walking, kind of, got to get shit done, got to go, be on time, and it's like. And that sort of thing, when we're in mind energy, or we're, kind of forcefully walking, or walking with purpose, whatever you want to look at it. And so I felt very sore. And then today I was like, oh, should I go on this really big walk? Maybe I shouldn't walk that far, but whatever, I decided to. But I walked in peace. And because I didn't have to be there at a specific time, I said, you know what, there's no time, there's no rush. And I'm going to walk and do my very best to stay in the present moment, mind to heart drops, whatever techniques, use to center myself in the present moment and bring myself back, not wandering, not thinking about the future or the past, and just being in the present moment. And I walked very, very gracefully. And so I was paying attention to how I was walking. A lot of times if we're in our head thinking about stuff, we're almost like power walking. And that's really hard on the body because it's very robotic. It's not graceful. It's usually kind of has a shock to it because you're kind of like, whatever. I don't know if that's what you look like, but you know what I'm saying, right? You're going somewhere with the mental headspace and I got to get there, drive and purpose. But that's often not in peace energy. It's a lot of mental effort being put towards it. And so today I walked and it was just like this slow, graceful walk, small steps, not a long stride, no mental mind energy, just as much as I possibly could. Be very peaceful in the present moment. Be ye as children, right? And without being hooked up to mind energy and just being present. And I feel so great. I thought I was going to be so sore when I got home and I was going to be tired tonight, and I actually have more energy today than I did the past 3 days. And so it's pretty interesting when we do things from a state of peace rather than being stuck in mind energy or, running around crazy because of time. But anyways, that's not what today's show is about, although you could do a whole show on walking. Today's show, I wanted to speak about not looking back. And it's really difficult sometimes. That's, welcome to duality. Our spirit lives in the now. It doesn't know about the past or the future. It just wants to be present with us and creative in the moment. But, at least here in the Western world, on planet Earth, looking back is a big part of our culture. I'm 42, so I was born in the 80s, and my parents had it was called Video Movie House. So, they had electronics. So we had a video camera, and, people started getting cameras and stuff. And nowadays, everybody's got one in their phones, most people. So, it's everything's courting us to the past. We're always looking back. And that's the danger of me doing this show, is I'm going back in my past, looking back on old timelines. You guys are coming on those timelines with me, and I do appreciate that. And I'm not doing it for any other reason other than to use it as a way to show how to transcend it, because I'm taking my story and the things that I've gone through, and it's difficult because the more you get in the present moment and peaceful in the present moment, the less you like looking back. And so sometimes I think that's what I have if I have energetic blocks around doing the show, it's like, I got to talk about my past and my story. And that's in light, there's no memory of the past. It's just creation in the present moment. As Osho says, consciousness never carries memory as a burden. So a lot of times looking back in our memories, that's what holds us in bondage to our story, holds us in bondage to our body shape, to our the life we're physically manifesting, to what we think we're capable of, what we think, how much we value ourselves. If you look at what DNA is an epigenetic recording system. Well, of course, it's really easy to look back because it's all stored in us. There's nothing more on this planet that I'm aware of that can store more information than DNA. And so I've mentioned that on this show before, that DNA makes healing difficult. But it also makes looking back really easy. So looking back, into memories, good or bad, takes us out of the present moment. It puts us onto those timelines. It reactivates our DNA. So your body doesn't know the difference if you're thinking about it from the past, or if it's happening right now. So a lot of times, if you haven't cleared the energy from the memory, especially if people, those emotional, if you haven't done a whole lifetime emotional clearing, or you haven't cleared the emotions from your past, and you look at, and you can tell that you haven't, because if you look back on something and it brings tears to your eyes, well, you have blocked energy there. There's a charge on it still, whether it's happy or sad, it's still a charge, and you want to reduce it to a zero charge, bring it back to neutrality. And so that way it's just, it might still be there, but it's, it's like been there, done that. Like, like Ron always says, you don't need to go back and visit it. Often when we're looking back, it's replaying, a lot of times it's traumas. A lot of times maybe it's good times, things that we might miss, people, places, and things. It's courtings to the past. And so, if you've ever been a victim of an assault or a trauma or anything that's causes pain and suffering and traumatizes us and shocks us, well, that's recorded in our body system. All of our cells record it in our epigenetic recording system, and so it carries a charge until we clear it. And so that's why it's easy to mind loop, especially a couple of years ago. And I apologize, because when you guys are, it's it's tough work for me to do, but it's also tough work for you guys to do, but at least, you hopefully you know how to crash timelines and command my spirit to crash all timelines and space-time associated with this show. And so make sure you do some clearings, and be in a peaceful state, so you don't pick up any of my stuff that I talk about. But what I do my best to speak about things that are so far gone from my in my past that they don't have a charge on them anymore. So I don't carry an emotional charge with them. And if there is, if it's something that's happened in my recent past and I still have a charge on it and I can't get through it, I don't want to share it on the show, because I don't want that cord or that transmission going through. So anything that I speak of, I want it to be something that I've transcended, that no longer carries a charge. The memory's still there. It's like watching a movie, somebody else's movie. It doesn't make me emotional anymore. And I could give you a whole bunch of examples of things like that, somebody passing away, and an ex partner or relationship, that's gone south and you might be missing them. And so there's lots of reasons why we look back at traumas. When I severed off my thumb, I don't know if I've showed you guys this. I think so once, but that part right there is missing from here. That was very traumatic, and it was tough not to look back on for like years, because you look back and you notice part of you is missing, part of your body part is missing, and you're instantly replaying that trauma. And I didn't know about this type of work back then, and so it was difficult. I'm looking back at oh, I wish I never did that. I'm beating myself up. Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I fucking did that. Like, what an idiot. Like, I should have known better, and all this stuff. And I'm not going to get into how it happened right now, because it's kind of traumatic, but it was something that, and it was like, is God punishing me? Like, even though I didn't believe in God, I was like, well, maybe everybody's right. Everybody else does it. Maybe I'm the one who's a fool, so you're praying to God or asking questions like, why did this happen to me? And mind looping, just replaying the past, wishing it was still there, and things like that. So it took me a long time to get over that. And so that happens with, like I said, a lot of different types of traumas. And even in our society, like, so I was thinking, going through about, what causes us to look back? Well, as I was mentioning earlier, like when we were in the 80s, when things started coming out with video cameras and stuff, and taking pictures, I don't know about you guys, but I have, 5, 6, like a big stack of old family albums with physical photos. And so I haven't gone through them in years and years and years, and I don't plan on it. I went through them a few years ago when my dad passed away. But I don't want to go back into the past. The now, this beautiful moment, is so amazing. It's the only true reality we have, and our point of power is always in the now. So, and it's okay once in a while to go look back, but you're not proactively creating your future when you go look back. And so we can get stuck there sometimes. We can get stuck mind looping in the past, replaying those events over and over and over again, right? So for myself, I experienced that as a young child. My parents, having businesses and living in different cities and things like that, and having differences, and it was always on off. So ever since I was a young kid, we were moving around a lot. My parents were together, getting separated, and so I was always looking back a lot. Like when we weren't together, I was thinking, even as a young child, thinking of the times when my family was together and missing that. And so you're not taught about that growing up, but anything like that, and even people talk as we get older. People say the good old days, this. Oh, it's not like this anymore. Oh, back in my day, this and that, and it all has to do with the past. And that's a horrible place to live in the past. It's just as bad as living in the future. Hell is any place other than the present moment, and that's the truth. Because in the present moment, unless somebody's punching you in the face, we should be able to be in a state of peace, no matter what is going on seemingly around us, because that's all in timelines. Here right now, my life, it's peaceful. It's not perfect. There's a lot of stuff I'm working on. There's things that I'm working, I'm on this journey, trudging through the mud, cleaning myself off. It's not perfect, but this moment is. In this moment, there's nothing hurting me. I have some money in the bank. I have a place to stay tonight. I just had a wonderful meal. I had a beautiful day. I'm doing something I love. communicating this information and sharing it on the videos I love doing. So this moment's peaceful. But if I go in to look, at my life with the microscope, being like, well, these bills unpaid, I'm behind, whatever, I've got debt here. Yeah, my life doesn't look perfect. It's very different than I thought it would be. If you would have asked me 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if this is where I was going to be today, here, right now, I wouldn't even have thought I would be here. So much has happened since then. So I'm trying not to look back and compare it to some idealized version of my reality that I thought I should have been at 5 years ago. Because when you start doing that, then you start beating yourself up. Well, like, I can't believe this happened and that happened. I should have known better. I can't believe I did that or said this or didn't see this coming, And it's all self-sabotage. So, and one example that I thought was really interesting that I stumbled upon a few years ago is the first time my brother and I got to go to a motorcycle racetrack. So we went to this track where you just show up, and you guys aren't probably motorcycle aficionados, so it's not going to be that glamorous. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing behind about going to the track, but it's a really cool experience. You just show up. You don't even need to bring a bike or all the gear. It's like an all-inclusive thing. You just show up and they give you lessons and classroom stuff, and then you go out there and they take you around the track with instructors, and you get to start your first ever motorcycle racing on a real race bike at a track. And that was cool. Neither my brother nor I had ever done that before, just ride our motorcycles on the street. And on the street you have rear view mirrors, but at the track there are no rear view mirrors. There's no looking back. And which took a lot to get used to, because when you're riding on the street, you're doing blind spot checks and everything like that. You kind of have to, but on the track, they don't want you looking back because you're going so fast. Taking a second to look back to where you're going is it's called target fixation. So in motorcycling, like if you look at something on the side of the road and it kind of catches your glance, you actually start going towards it. So on a motorcycle, which is kind of like a metaphor for life, you have to look where you're going. So it's easy if you see something catches your attention, or you get a little wobble going to the corner, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go off the road. Well, you're going to go wherever you're looking. And so it's a really, if you've ridden a motorcycle, you'll understand what I mean, or maybe even a bicycle as well. But if you don't, it's very, very interesting, because you don't think it's true, but it actually is. So there was this one time I got a really bad speed wobble and I almost went wide on the corner, and I was looking like, oh my God, I'm going in, and you target fixate and you're not consciously aware. It's like you get into fear and you lock up and you're like, oh my God, I'm going off the road. And you have that split second to be like, okay, no, I have to go this way. And you look that way and you turn and you go. But on the motorcycle bikes on the track, there's no mirrors. They don't want you looking back. They don't want you doing blind spot checks when you're doing 110 kilometers an hour or 180 kilometers an hour coming up into a turn. There's no time for looking back. There's just, because everything's coming at you so quick that you don't want to be wasting time or energy looking back. You just want to focus on what's in front of you, which is how life should be. The light only works in the now. Wherever you're looking, wherever you're shining your light, wherever, that's where you're going. And that's where all your attention and all your focus needs to be. And so those motorcycles not having, that was like an aha moment for me. So, even on the track, you have to just trust that everybody else is doing what they need to do. So you don't worry about the people behind you. You worry about what's in front of you, and you trust that, nobody's going to break the rules. Nobody's going to come in. They're going to do their own thing. And there's, certain rules, like you can only pass on certain corners, or there's certain corners you can't pass on, or certain areas that you can't pass on. So generally everybody's following the same rules, especially when it's just for fun. It's not for a prize or anything like that. So everybody wants to be safe. Nobody wants to get hurt. But everybody's racing their own race, which is how we should be living life, not with the mental energy of what's buddy doing behind me, what's buddy, like if he's coming up on me. No, focus on your own race, because if you're worried about the guy behind you passing you, or whatever, you're not focused on what you're doing. And when you're racing a motorcycle, you need to have all your conscious awareness on what you're doing, not what the guys behind you are doing. It's not whatever's in front of you is what you're focused on. And that's how we have to live our lives too. So we don't want to be looking back. And because often when we look back, it's easy for doubt to creep in. So, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I was thinking about that. That's that's a thing. I don't know if I ever shared the story of when I left the Catholic Church as a kid in grade 8. I decided not to do my confirmation. I'll do a separate episode on that. But I thought about how confession is like that. Like confession, going to a priest to confess your sins. So, well, sins. What is even a sin? You know, and so that is even looking back. You know, like why would you go to a priest and be like, yeah, well, you know, I got in a fight with my brother, you know, 2 weeks ago. We're sitting there looking back, placing guilt upon ourselves to some stranger we don't even know because we think he's closer to God. What a shit show that is. But so it's all past energy. It's all mind energy. It's all in time. Would you rather be, as a kid, would you rather be going to confession to talk to a priest about the past, beating yourself up because usually sins are considered things you shouldn't have done? You know, would you rather be doing that, or would you rather be playing or proactively creating? And so we instill that crap into children, or at least, you know, in the Catholic religion, which is super toxic. No offense to Catholic people, but I was one of them. And jump ship as soon as you can. Your life will be better. But going back into the past, it puts us on timelines. And so we're reliving that. And so if you haven't cleared that emotion, you know, you're reactivating your DNA, your body's experiencing it again. Not cool. Not cool at all. Not present in the moment. Not proactively creating. Stuck in the past. So we don't want to be reacting to the past, good or bad. And, you know, it's easy to, like I said, the good old days. Well, they're just memories, you know. And I had that conversation with somebody about who's missing somebody. And, you know, and it's like, well, and I said this to them, and I was like, you know, you're missing the good times. And I was like, was there not bad times? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, so they all balance out. So when we miss somebody, it's like we, you know, I was like, would you like them if they were here yelling at you right now, or like one of the bad times or whatever, you know? No, you're missing the good times only. So why don't you just, like, you know, balance them out? They were great time. They were wonderful experiences, good or bad. They're neutralized. There was good, there was bad. It was an experience, been there, done that, moving on, present moment. Let's focus on now, which is the only, life is now, always. Only this moment is. This is the only true reality that I'm experiencing right now. Well, let's not get into parallel lives and alternate realities, but the present moment is so precious. And that's, I think too, maybe, it always reminded me of the Bible story about Lot's wife, who turned to stone or salt when she was looking back at Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever. And I think that is a metaphor for, like, not looking back in life, like the past, you know, the city's burning. Well, whatever, the past, let it burn. It's gone. It doesn't exist. And if you've ever noticed, you know, yourself or other people, when they're in their head, they're stuck in memories, you look like stone. Like if right now I'm talking, or if you're creating and doing something with your hands in the present moment. But if you've ever just been stuck in daydreaming, you know, either thinking about the past or fantasizing about the future, there's no real difference. So it should be, don't look back, but don't look too far forward. Take no anxious thought about tomorrow as well. But if you've ever noticed yourself, like, notice next time you start thinking about something about the past, well, you'll notice you're like a statue because you're in your head. You know, and a lot of people, like, I've seen people, you go and they're just sitting there in their mind, thinking about the past like a statue. And only in movement is life. And that's the thing, we with all our history stored in our DNA and memories in the past and all that stuff, it's really, they abduct us and they keep us trapped. And so if we're always looking back, you know, especially if the thing for me that is difficult, like I related it to when I was younger, and divorce, like if you think wherever your current circumstance is unfavorable, then you're looking back and it's like you're looking like, how did I get here? What decision? Maybe you lost your job, or maybe you went through some financial difficulties. I have in the past few years, and you know, I didn't feel empowered. I was kind of on other people's timelines, you know, and I don't want to get into stories about that, but you know, whether it's other friends or family, helping other people out. But I kind of really felt that I was best supporting actor in other people's movies, not the lead role in my own. And so I am working through my codependence things, and I think a lot of times for me, it was like trauma related issues. Like I said, coming from a family, like a divorced family. Well, family's the most important thing. Well, then when your family's separated, family's all you've got. Family's the most important thing. Well, if all you've got and the most important thing is separated from you, then it creates this inner tension. You're not at peace because all you've got and the most important thing are not coherently together. So it's creating this chaos. Oh, I remember the time when my family's together. How do we get our family back together? So it creates this crazy dynamic for a young child, and looking, bringing us back to those past energies, or wishing that things were different, wishing your parents were still together when they're not. So, and then you're thinking back about the good times. And so to really be able to pull ourselves away from that stuff and clear those past timelines. And so however you do that, whether it be timeline crashing with the CLS website, or loving it out of your life, or commanding your spirit to crash all timelines. Once you get more spirit back into your body, and you're able to kick entities out, and you're able to hold that spiritual integrity, it's going to be easier for you. But I'll tell you right now, because if you went through a lot of trauma, you had a lot of injuries, you had a lot of, for myself, if you've listened to the show from the beginning, I drank, I smoked, I did other drugs. I had a lot of shit going on in my life, and I've had to do a lot of stuff. Maybe not everybody needs CLS clearings. Maybe they have more spiritual horsepower and they're able to do those things themselves. Maybe just the commands work, and eventually the commands will work, and eventually you probably won't even need the commands, because you'll be able to hold such spiritual integrity that you won't get sidetracked. Nothing will take you sideways. But until you get to that point, you need some assistance. You need to get that stuff removed from the hard drive, clear the hard drive, not just remove it from the desktop. Like I've said before, repression is not transcendence. So if you haven't faced those things and cleared them like somatically from your cells, like the issue, so that it no longer holds an emotional charge. If you haven't done that, it's coming back sometime, someplace, it's coming back. That anger that you suppressed, the body keeps score. It's in there. It's in your DNA. It's charged in your emotional bodies. And if you haven't cleared it, it's bound to come out at some point. And so if we're always reacting to the past, we're not proactively creating in the moment. So it's really easy to get stuck into old patterns, and even just the comfortable things. Sometimes being in the present moment, or doing something new, or letting go of old patterns, relationships, is not comfortable. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it involves saying no to friends and family. Sometimes it involves saying no to certain people, or removing them from your life, which is very difficult. And I spoke about that, and I didn't always have the jam or the courage or the balls to, I thought like, well, you have to like tell somebody, but that's not true. That's just mind energy thinking you have to do it. Sometimes it's okay to walk away. It's okay to say no as a complete sentence. No means no. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify. That's all people-pleasing behaviors. And I was guilty of that stuff. And I'm not going to say guilty, but I did all that stuff. I had all that stuff in me, and I'm still working through some of that stuff. Like I have difficulty saying no to some people sometimes, and it takes a lot. And because, if family's all you got, family's the most important thing. Friends are like family, and all this stuff. And, we're brothers and stuff. So if you think that, maybe if family's all you got, maybe it's difficult for you to tell your dad no, or your mom no, because you feel like if you disappoint them, well, then all you've got is no longer there, or they're not going to support you, or they're not going to love you, or their love is conditional. So it might be difficult to say no. So that makes us people pleasers, and it makes us reactionary, and it makes us do things that we don't necessarily, maybe aren't our highest joy, because we feel obligated to. So it can be very difficult, right? So if you are looking back, that's kind of like mind looping, and it's really, whether or not you're doing it intentionally, most people probably aren't. Worry is like that, looking back, like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that, or if I would have done that, this would have been different. My life circumstance today would be better. And maybe that's the case, but you are where you are. It is what it is. How can you proactively get yourself out of there and know and create a life for you where that's never going to happen again? You don't have to worry about it, because your past does not have to manage your future. And that's the difficult thing, is that we get stuck into patterns. And so we do keep recreating the same patterns over and over again, because the aliens keep inserting us into those programs so they can get juice off us. So it doesn't matter. We keep attracting the same people, the same types of people, you know, different actors, different masks, but the same energies. If you're in a victim mentality, you're going to attract tyrants and oppressors. Why do you think we have governments? There would be no governments and without this fear-based reality, there would be no governments. We don't need governments. We've been conditioned and programmed for hundreds of thousands of years to think that we need governments. We don't. That's darkness. That's mind energy. There's no governments, and there's no hierarchy in the universes of light. There's no spiritual hierarchy. There's no mind energy. There's no past. There's just proactive creation in the moment. And so there's no need for governments, because the heart does not need to be governed. It's just out there having a good time. It doesn't want to control other people. It doesn't want to harm other people. It doesn't want to harm source. It doesn't want to harm itself. It's just out there having a good time. So governments are specific to this place, and that's all about the past. Look at it. It's so tied into this I'll say construct. I was going to say society, but it's more of a construct. This prison planet / loosh farm / holographic reality that they just keep queuing up all the chaos so that they can get our emotional reactions, right? So if we're looking back, we're not in the present moment. And so how do we transcend that? How do we clear it? How do we timeline crash all those things? And even the good stuff, like I have great memories, but they're not real anymore. They're you know, like I don't want to go on those timelines and be recreated and go through those experiences. I love those things, and they'll always be there, but I want to be proactively in this moment. I want to enjoy this moment. There's so much richness in this moment. Even just everything, just the stuff around me, everything's alive. Everything in the new earth, in the universes of light, everything is created fresh and new every moment. And so that's beautiful when you realize that everything's breathing, everything's alive, everything is made out of light and energy, sound, vibration, harmonics. That's so awesome. And so why would I want to waste a moment of this time looking back? I don't. And so, you know, old patterns. What else? I got a couple things here that I wanted to make sure I touched on for this specific one. So yeah, so like the Oasis song, Don't Look Back in Anger. I would say don't look back at all. But if you are going to look back, make sure it's not in anger and just balance it out. You know, take the anger, balance it out with the good, reduce the positive and negative charge, and bring it into a zero neutral state, because that's where you want to be. And that way we won't keep creating the past. If we keep looking back at the past, that's going to be our reference point for the future, and we're going to keep creating that because we think that's what we deserve or that's who we are. And it's none of that. You are not your past. You are not your DNA. That is maybe like the curse that we were born with, that we're transcending, but that you've got to grow out of and backpedal out of here and remove all the you know, the genetic cellular memories and the charge on them, so that we can ascend to a higher state of consciousness outside of duality, living moment to moment, creating with the beauty of the divine, which is what I'm working on, and I suppose the people that watch the show are working on. And thank you for everybody, every one of you who watches it. I appreciate everybody so very much for tuning in and sending comments and questions and just the engagement, and because it is a journey, and it's if there's nobody around to tell you these things, like holy fuck, like I'm doing this show because I wish there had been somebody. You know, I didn't find this type of stuff till a few years ago. This stuff about life force energy, about all the things that I've been covering in the past, you know, the past few episodes, about timelines, about entities, about DNA. If you don't know that stuff, like the light ship clearings and how creation is actually organized, and the light of the darkness, the dark side energies, alien holographic realities. If you don't know all that stuff, you're literally lost at sea, just drowning, because it's going to make you question your sanity, because those who are consciously aware and they start waking up, well, they don't want you breaking out of that reality. So you're going to be jumping timelines, alternate realities. Things might be happening like very, you know, they're going to do their best to keep you locked in that fear state of reality. So it's very difficult to transcend your past, but it starts with just being present in the moment. So clearing that past, you know, whether you're doing the love it out of your life, which is a very powerful exercise. We talked about it on Sunshine's show a few weeks ago or a month ago. I don't know if I've talked about loving it out of your life here on this, my foundational healing workshop show, but I will next week because it's very powerful. So if you don't, do the clearings and you want to do the work yourself, there's different ways you can do that. But loving it out of your life is basically coming into oneness with the energy. And so I'll talk about that more in a separate episode. I think it deserves its own episode. But you have to clear it and reduce the memories to zero charge. And otherwise, you're just going to recreate those old patterns. And so looking back, it's like doubt creeps in, right? So another motorcycle example, or the example of dancing or playing. I use the example of riding a motorcycle because you have to be so in the moment. But say you're playing the piano or something. I think Mozart says that he has is it Mozart or Beethoven has a saying that to miss a key or whatever, or to play out of key is forgivable, but to play without passion is unforgivable or whatever. But that's true. And so it doesn't matter if you misstep or even a dance, So say you're dancing. I do dancing. I love, in my morning Qigong workouts, I do dancing and stuff. And maybe you misstep or you don't do it, or like I just do freestyle dancing, so I'm kind of bopping around. So, but if you stumble or something like that, you don't think about it and beat up and look back, oh, I can't believe I did that, because you're just in the moment dancing, enjoying yourself, creating. It's not a big deal. But so often in life, like, think about how many times I used to do that, or we do it in our lives, sitting around the dinner table, everybody talking about their day. Like, who invented that crap? That's like the worst thing you could do. And then like, oh, I had a rough day. Like, well, why are you letting your rough day influence right now? Because that's what living in the now is to like make your rough day, isolate it, chop it off. Don't waste your good evening on a crappy day. Stop bringing it forward with you. And I know it's difficult, but that, it's worth practicing. It's worth doing. Because then you start doubting yourself if you're looking back and like, if you think that your present circumstance is so unfavorable, and you start looking back, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have broke up with her, or maybe I should have stayed at that job and all that stuff. Then you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting your spirit. You're not trusting the divine. You're not trusting the moment. You're not trusting creation. You're not trusting your ability to do whatever it is you want to do and create whatever it is you want to create. So don't look back, because doubts can creep in, and you start looking at the things you did wrong, or the things, or resting on your laurels, or the things you did right, and both are just crap. They don't exist. Only this moment exists. So do what you have to do. Create, dream, inspire from a place of peace, and then move forward. Take one step into it. And so that's the thing about looking back, and why we shouldn't look back too much. Maybe if you do, here and there, just to see how far you've come. Like I go through, I don't really journal so much as I used to. I guess at a certain point it's good to journal and go back to see things that you need to work on, because like mind pictures of the past are hints and clues to what we need to clear out of our system. Because if those things keep coming up, it's like, I know for myself, I'll use myself as an example. If I'm having a bad day, or something went wrong, or wrong's maybe not the right term, didn't go as I had expected, it's easy to get into like, oh, like I remember that time I did this, and that's fine, but it's like we jump back to the past of a time that was, if you just broke up with your girlfriend, well, in that night's going to be difficult. You're not going to be like, until we get to that point where like, all right, well, thanks, moving on and to it. But a lot of times there's so much emotional attachment and courting and relationships that it's very difficult. But a lot of times, if you have a day that maybe something didn't go your way, or you got fired, or, for myself, like I had to let a client go a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, I'm working on having that conviction and certainty of my decisions without doubting it, because it's just like, oh, I need the money. Was I a little harsh? No, I set a fucking boundary. And for the first time in my life, I'm not playing the people pleaser for money anymore. I'm not a prostitute. I'm not going to accept people who cross boundaries and don't respect my boundaries, especially after I've set them, like not even that they don't know that's crossing a boundary on their own, but even after I said to ask them to stop and they continued to do so. No, our personal spiritual integrity is number one. It's the number one thing. And so if you're always looking back, then you're just, it's like you're going fishing for problems, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. And if I would have done this, I should have invested in Apple 20 years ago, or I should have done that. Hindsight's 20/20. Of course, you're going to see it with clarity after it happened. Just trust that you were doing the best that you could at the time, and you made those decisions, and they're perfect. They were just decisions. There's no good or bad, right or wrong, positive or negative. That's all in duality. It was just an experience. And it might have been favorable or unfavorable in your eyes, but if you realize that you're a divine eternal spirit and you've probably lived billions of lives, you just don't remember them all, then who cares about that past relationship, failed job, or failed business, or whatever? It's gone. It's not here anymore unless you keep bringing it back. And why would you want to bring that energy with you? Because you're not going to be able to recreate a more favorable or peaceful or abundant reality where things happen for you, or you're manifesting moment to moment in a more beautiful, peaceful life if you're always looking back and recreating those old patterns, patterns and energy systems, right? I like that saying. I shared on a short once, is that the mind will choose comfortable chaos over unfamiliar peace. Over unfamiliar peace. I don't know if you guys can see that with the light. The mind will always choose comfortable chaos over unfamiliar peace. I don't know if it's the mind. I guess it's the mind, but it's also because it's stored in our DNA probably. And that's pretty true. And so I've noticed that myself. And I don't know if I was the sucker for punishment in a chaotic life, or it was the people around me, or like attracts like. So I was involved in that. But as I'm starting to move into a more peaceful life, sometimes peace feels very foreign to me, especially, like we're always taught we should be doing. It's very difficult to turn off sometimes, because there's a lot of things we want to accomplish in our life. If we're working a 9 to 5 at a job we don't like, that's draining us. It's like, well, we have all this stuff we want to do after hours, and so it's go all the time, and people don't have the time, and we're operating from mind energy a lot, so we burn out quickly. It's like me walking the past few days in mind energy and getting so sore, and then today walking way further in peace energy, and I could probably still be out there walking because I was just walking so peacefully. It was almost like floating. I was in this like very relaxed state, rather than this like I got to get shit done march, which was very mental, and my body paid for it after. But today was very peaceful, and if I know that when I find myself peaceful, it feels foreign. It's like there's got to be something wrong. Am I forgetting something? Am I forgetting something? There's got to be something I should be worried about. There's got to be something I should be stressing out about. There's got to be something that I should be, upset about. And so, it's a very true saying. The mind will always choose comfortable chaos over unfamiliar peace, because it's our emotions take us into that chaos, and the past and the future and the worries and the anxieties, or anything that's out of perfect peace has a charge to it, right? So it's easy to get sucked into that, and a lot of people use anger or emotion as their driving force, or to push them forward. Well, I got to get this done, or this happened. But it's very reactionary. So if you can create from a place of peace, like I just can't wait to do this because I love it. I just can't wait to do this because it's fun. I just can't wait to do this because it's going to make my life better. Well, that's awesome, And I was actually chatting with somebody the other day, and I thought about how, they in movies they portray the superheroes as these awesome characters that so many kids probably, if you're like me, growing up watching Marvel movies and that sort of thing, and just any type of superhero movie, it's like, well, you want to be a superhero, and then a lot of the new age stuff and metaphysics and stuff talks about being the hero of your own life, and that is true to some degree, but also, if it's not, you want to become the hero of your life, not other people's lives. Because I was thinking about how reactionary being a superhero is, and I was thinking about I think it's the original Spider-Man movie, and he's literally got like a police CB radio, and he's waiting for shit to happen so he could jump into action. Well, he's jumping into other people's timelines, and so like that's like being a superhero is like, that's not neutrality. You're interfering with whatever else is going on, and you're just basically a victim to outside circumstances, or you're creating that reality so you have something to be a hero for. But it's not a very peaceful life being a superhero, or always having to save the day, right? And so, especially other people's days. the real work is to save ourselves, to reconnect with our own divinity, to ultimately, to some degree, to be the hero of our story. But we don't have to rescue others. It's like, I heard a good saying recently, and it has to do with my story. I wanted to write a story about lighthouses, and anyways, but the saying is that a lighthouse doesn't chase ships. So it just stands firmly grounded on the rocks, on a solid foundation, like we're building through our foundational healing workshops. It stays on the rocks doing its job. It doesn't deviate. It just shines the light for the people that need it. Those who have eyes to see will see. Those who are, need to see the lighthouse will use it. If the lighthouse chases a ship or a boat, well, then it's not doing its job, and there could be other ships that crash. More people are going to be at risk because it's off trying to chase or be the hero of the day. So you're a lighthouse if you want to be. You don't have to be out there projecting stuff, but to the people who are looking for more light in their lives, or true light, which is very difficult to find, just they'll find you. The same way that you found Ron or CLS or myself. Eventually, you'll figure it out. The people who are really looking, a lot of dark rat holes, especially with spirituality, a lot of dead ends, a lot of just there's so much spiritual misdirection here that it's crazy. And I went down it all because I was looking for stuff outside myself since I was a kid, since I decided to leave the Catholic Church and being raised with this God outside of yourself, and be looking to all these people, like, why do they believe in this thing outside of themselves? And then I spent 40 years looking for the answers outside of myself. I looked for it with other people, with drugs, with destinations, things, just different types of spirituality, books, rituals, whatever, all this stuff, and it just all falls short until you find what you knew all along. But we're so not taught it, that the divinity is truly within ourselves, and that it's just peace energy. Source energy is peace energy, and that's the greatest power we have, is to not be reactive to the outside world. So Spider-Man, put the CB radio away and stop interfering in other people's lives, and just go live in peace, man. But yeah, so don't look back. Don't worry about the missteps. It's just a dance. No step is more important than others. Like Alan Watts says, the point of the dance is the dance itself. You're not looking to get to some specific point on the floor. Every step is awesome. It's a flow. It's fun. It's whatever, if it's graceful or however you're dancing, but every step is important. There's not one step that's more important than any others. Otherwise it would be a move. It wouldn't be a dance. A dance is ongoing, and so is life. It's perpetual motion if we keep moving. And that's the point, is that if we're always looking back and recreating those old patterns, we become stagnant. There's only two types of energies, blocked and unblocked. So if you're stopped looking back, that's blocked energy. You're thinking, you're creating energetic blocks. Every thought that we have in mind energy creates a DNA restriction, creates an energetic block, and it creates a set path. It's like the opportunity cost in economics. The opportunity cost is defined as, it's like what you give up for what you're doing. So if I'm doing this show right now, delivering this video to you guys, I'm giving up all the other possibilities of things I could be doing. Going for a walk, riding a bike, making dinner, whatever, playing racquetball. Not that I play racquetball, but the opportunity cost of me doing this show is all the other opportunities. And so what's the opportunity cost of looking back? Well, you're losing your life here in the now by looking back. And so yes, we go into looking back here and there, but the more spirit you have, the more in the moment you get, the less you want to talk, the less you want to look back. I used to love talking, and I used to love getting to know people. And now I'm learning to get to know myself. I'm becoming my best friends with my spirit. I've been spending a lot of time alone, and I always had a lot of family and friends, and that's good, and they're still all there. But where I live now, I have I just keep my circle very small. And I enjoy my time by myself. I enjoy my walks in nature by myself. I enjoy going down to the lake to jump in the water by myself. I enjoy going for motorcycle rides by myself, although I do hang out with the cows and the animals and things like that. But I love being, and I feel like, well, I'm by myself, but I'm never alone. I don't feel lonely per se. Especially the more spirit you have, you're going to be more, if you're by yourself and you're alone and it feels lonely, well, yeah, but once you start getting more spirit in your body, it's like you realize that like that's all you got. Your spirit is your best friend and your only connection to the divine. So it's when you really start connecting with that, it's wonderful and it's beautiful. And it's scary at first because you're going to have to dig through a lot of stuff to uncover it and to call your spirit back and to remove your traumas, dramas, and all those charges and all that stuff, timeline crashing and getting off all that stuff. Anything that causes us to be reactionary, causes us to be in a state of sadness, anger, even over too much excitement, too much joy, too much love, hate. Everything's in duality. So how do we have more peace in our lives? Well, that's not looking back, and it's no different than, like I said before, take no anxious thought about tomorrow. Sometimes the looking back feels a little bit safer because the future is not predicted. But it's easy, sometimes we have anxiety about the future. I don't know about you guys, but I get into anxiety. I'm still working on that. Oh, what if this happens, or what if this deal falls through, or whatever. So it's that's a negative state. It's a negative charge on that anxiety. Anxiety is a negative thing. But then there's the opposite. There's the overjoyous reality where it's like this fantasy, Pollyanna, like, oh, the future is going to be so amazing. And a lot of times it doesn't live up to that expectation. So it's like it creates resentment or being attached to an outcome, or disappointment when it doesn't happen the way you thought. So when you're doing it moment to moment, manifesting moment to moment without attachment to outcomes, without preconceived notions, without expectations, anticipation, overvaluation of the future, then it comes in as it is. And it's really quite beautiful. And it can be scary because but what's scarier is planning out your future and then having it crash and burn on you because it didn't go the way you wanted, and then you're upset and you're all on these timelines of anger and frustration. So it's better to just like the parable of the old guy who has all this stuff that happens to him, and his neighbors are like, oh, you're so lucky, and he's like, oh, who knows what's good or bad, and they're like, oh, that's horrible, and he says, oh, who knows what's good or bad, and then something else happens and they're like, oh, what a fortunate thing, and he's like, who knows, and that's how we have to go. Who knows what's good or bad? Who knows? Usually in duality there's a swing of the pendulum. So a lot of times that if you stumble upon a fortune, well, you're going to lose it, unless you create it, that stability and that foundation from source energy, from peace. It's like the saying, easy come, easy go, right? So a lot of times in duality, if you want something too much, or you have too much attention, like Vadim Zealand in Reality Transurfing, he calls it a pendulum or balanced forces. Like, that's what's I think is happening in the world, because it's been so unbalanced that like naturally balanced forces come in to balance things out. So things are swinging one way, the pendulum's going this way and that way, this way and that way. What you don't even want to be on the pendulum. You want to do what he calls the diplomatic dodge, and so you just kind of say, "Not what's the saying? Not my monkeys, not my circus." And that's kind of not bad advice, right? Because it's not. There's nothing. The aliens, they want you to get involved. They want you to join the fight. They want to get you angry. They want to get you reactionary. They want to get you pissed off. They want to get you overzealous. They want to get you happy. Anything to get juice off you. There's no difference between anger and fighting in the streets than there is, cheering on your favorite team at a fucking football stadium. Crazy amounts of, harvestable louche and emotional energy and vibrational energy. We're fueling that system by participating with it. And so how do we step out of it? Peace. That's the only way. And it's way easier said than done. But it's worth doing the work, because every time we're out on a timeline, if we're in the past or in the future, we're losing a part of our spirit. Our spirit doesn't know about duality. It only works in the now. The light only works in the now. So if we're in the past or the future, our spirit's like, well, fuck this, I'm out. Like, I'm not of service here. If you're sitting here, not doing anything. Your spirit's not with you when you're in mind energy. There's only two energies, blocked and unblocked, heart and mind, present, and anything other than the present is darkness. And so when we really start understanding that, and the most valuable, precious thing you have is always this moment. So what are you going to do with it? And so as you grow in your spiritual integrity, like I used to love, seeing people and catching up, but you realize how many times you get on timelines, you be a people pleaser, how many times I betrayed myself. And I said, maybe it's not always a betrayal, but I put the stuff that I wanted to do on the back burner to hang out with friends and family, or, whatever. And it wasn't stuff that I really wanted to do. It's, and then I find myself being resentful. I should have done what I wanted to do instead of, what everybody else wanted to do. So as you get, like, now I used to think that, I was almost like Spider-Man. Like I always thought I could solve everybody else's problems, but for the first time in my life, I'm really focusing on me. I don't have anybody else's answers. That's mind energy, thinking we have everybody else's answers. They have their answers. Their spirit does. So if you want to give anybody advice, give them the advice to go within. And I didn't always give that advice. And so, because if we're always looking for advice and answers outside of ourselves, we're going to just constantly be disappointed. Or if we take somebody else's advice and it doesn't go the way we think it should, then we're going to be resentful for that person, to that person, So just really learn about going within. But now I'm really getting to the point where it's like when I hang out with people, it's like I don't want to talk about the past. I don't want to go down these things. I don't want to hear people's angry stories anymore. I used to think that was like being of service, like listening to people complain or bitch and complain. And now it's like, I don't want that energy. I don't want to be slimed with it. I don't want it imprinted upon me. So I'm very conscious of who I hang out with. And it's like, I'd rather be creating. That's why, I with friends, would I would create stuff, would I, my buddy Jeff, we'd make music together. I really enjoyed those times because it's not just, a lot of times in my past, it would be like, we would go out for drinks, and then you're just shooting the shit, talking crap or doing like whatever. It's not creating. It's either reacting or, and it's fun here and there. It's not, I'm not saying don't go out and have some laughs and a good meal here and there, but I did it too much. And it's like, I really liked creating. I liked working on music. And I started really changing my life. Now I don't go do those things. I don't drink anymore. I don't go partying anymore, because I would rather be creating. I'd rather be doing this show. I'd rather be whatever, studying something I want, learning to fly, whatever it is, building something, creating, just doing something. That's why I walk so much, because I'm spending more time in nature. I'm trying to spend less time in front of a screen. I've actually been looking for new work, new jobs, new gigs, new things that I'm passionate about that don't involve being in front of a computer, because I do a lot of video editing and photos and stuff like that, and it can be a lot of hours in front of a computer. And you know what? I didn't come to the three-dimensional world to sit and create in a two-dimensional reality. And so as I get older and I realize how much, growing up we watched TV, and now we're on screens and phones, and it's like we don't know what these screens are doing. They're used to trap our consciousness. We have no idea how they actually work. It's called windows. Is it windows for us to look at the windows of the applications, or is it windows for somebody looking at us? They can see through that window into our lives, and as much as I'm making this video for everybody to see, but that's the truth. And so I'm looking at doing things that don't involve being in front of a screen, getting back less screen time, more physical things. It's like, I don't want to stare at a screen as much anymore. And when I do those things for work, I don't necessarily want to do them, my passion projects. I have some videos and a movie and a documentary I want to make, but when I spend all day doing it for other people for work, then I'm not really motivated to do it for myself. And so that's the kind of the dark side, I guess, of if you want to call it that, of doing what you love. Sometimes, if you're doing what you love for other people, sometimes you don't have the ability to do it for yourself. And so I know that I've spoken with some creative people, and that's why a lot of the times, it's difficult to separate the things, especially, people who do photography and video for, it's like, well, if you did it all week for other people, you don't really want to go, do your own things on the weekend. And sometimes that's where your passion projects, or where you have the most fun, is the stuff for that you want to do for yourself, but it doesn't always pay the bills, right? Which is why homesteading is so important, so we don't have to do stuff just to pay the bills. We don't have to be slaves and prostitutes and anymore, and we can do things that we want to do because we love to do them, and we choose and we can be more careful of the choices we make and the clients and the work we do, and we don't feel so obligated and stuck and entrapped by what we do and having to pay the bills and having to make a living, because that's not creation. We were created to be creative. We're not here to earn a living. We're not here to make a living. You know what's earn? A living? Earn? What else is an earn? You put your fucking ashes in that after you die. Earn. English is black magic. So closely related, so you earn a living. Yeah, we're making our ways selves. What do you call the highway to hell? Yeah, running ourselves into an early grave, earning a living. We're going to end up in an urn earlier because we had to earn a living. We're not supposed to earn a living. Not in true light. In true light, things don't even eat each other. It's only here in this duality world where there's competition and lack and scarcity that's basically projected or manufactured or constructed, because it's not true. There's no shortage of creation energy that's been hidden from us. So, but all that stuff kind of adds up, right? So anyways, I'm getting a little off topic about that, but don't look back so much. And it's more easier said than done, but as you start working with it and you start doing the mind to heart shop, whatever it is you need to do to bring yourself into the present moment, call yourself back. Like I said, I do that often. It's like if I catch myself drifting, be like, Rob, yep. And I know you shouldn't divide yourself out and talk to you, but it's like, I need you fully here. And I tell my mind that instead of imagining the future, know what you're working towards, but be fully here now. So I tell my mind, it's like, mind, I fucking need you here, buddy. I need you. If you want to do all these crazy things that you have in your, that you're imagining, well, you have to be here now. I need you fully here in this moment. If you want to get there and be there, then you have to be here now. And so I tell my mind to like shut up and be fully present so that we can do what we need to do to get that next step. You're never gonna create or manifest your dreams if we're always stuck in our head. Like, thinking is fragmentary, and we want to be total with action, manifesting, moving from moment to moment with the beauty of the divine. So if you are going to look back, especially on this foundational healing journey, just look back to really appreciate how far you've come. Some days where, I still fall into those old patterns where it's like, oh, I feel like I should. And that's the problem too, is like maybe I had an over grandiose fantasy of who I was trying to create and what I wanted to be with my life. And then, you keep falling short, or it feels like you're not making progress. And then you beat yourself up and you're looking back and, you're like, oh, but I am light years ahead of where I was 5 years ago. Maybe not financially. Maybe I'm not, driving a Ferrari and living in $1 million house like I thought I was going to be 5 years ago. But maybe that's not really what I want. Maybe, that all that stuff, it takes a lot of energy to generate that. And maybe it's not coming from peace energy. Maybe you're sacrificing a lot of life force, blood, sweat, and tears, and your body to get those things. So if those things don't come through peace energy and creative, source energy, then I don't want them in my life. And so I'm light years ahead of where I was 5 years ago. So my life's not perfect, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs anymore. I'm kicking those things. They're to the curb. They've gone. And I don't worry about them coming back anymore. There was a lot of times where, when you're first coming out of them, that you worry like, oh, how am I gonna, go hang out with the boys and this and that, and you'll get better at it, or those people will drop away from your life. And it's just, there's gonna come a point where you're gonna say, I can't go back that way. Not I can't, I choose not to. It's like you can't. Like it is a physical, like I can't. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, it's that you won't, It's like, been there, done that, that's not who I am anymore. And so if you do look back here and there, just appreciate and know that you did the best you could back then. And don't beat your former self up, because it's just a spirit and another now manifestation, incarnation, however you want to look at it. It's another now moment. So you were doing the best you could with what you had at the time. Maybe it was what you thought you needed to do, what you thought you needed to do to stay safe. You didn't know about fight or flight. You didn't know about entities. You didn't know about holographic realities. You didn't know about things taking your life force energy. You didn't know about karma. So whatever, all that crap, all that dark side crap that is thrust upon us here. You didn't know about it, so don't beat your former self up, just say, you know what, I'm okay where I am. And that's the best thing we can do, is be at peace where we are now, even if it's, come into oneness with whatever it is, even if it's, you lost your husband, or you went through a divorce, or you lost a friend, or you lost a lot of money, or you got, whatever it is. It was one day, if you can remove the charge from it and come into peace with it, it's just an experience. It is what it is. If you've had a billion lives, who cares if you lost somebody? Who cares if you lost your house? Who cares if you lost your fortune? Who cares? Because it was just an experience, and eventually you can take the emotional charge out of it, and it won't matter. And so that's what the beautiful thing about when you start doing this work, and it becomes easier and easier. So it's not to say that, before it's like broke up with the girlfriend or something bad happened. It might, I might go drinking with the guys for a weekend and then still thinking about it, then you're in this bad state, and it takes you like a week or 2 weeks to get over something. Now it's like, it is what it is. It stings a little bit, it might take a day or two, but I'll get over it. So that's where your real power, the real superpower, if there is one, the magic on both sides, black magic, white magic, bullshit, whatever, manipulation, mind energy, doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's good or evil. It's out of balance energies. But peace energy in the present moment, that's the true superpower. That's egoless, conscious awareness. And that's, if you can do that and get to that state and make something that happened this morning or 10 minutes ago or yesterday feel like it was 10,000 years ago, that's what you want to get to. And that's about taking the emotional charge out of it, whether it's good or bad. And so that's why we don't want to look back. And I do appreciate you guys coming on the journey with me, even though I'm looking back on my life and putting myself on timelines, and you guys on timelines. I do my clearings and I do my commands, and I hope, even though it's dangerous work, I hope I know what I'm doing. My spirit's protecting me, and it's strong enough, and I hope I hope Source has got my back enough, so that it's not going to be too detrimental. But that's, Ron used to recommend why people should not be healers, and I don't want to be a healer, but I do want to teach people to heal themselves, because I've been doing it, I've been working on it, and healing yourself physically and getting more spirit back into your body is the number one most important thing you can do in this lifetime if you want to do the ascension. And it's wonderful work. It's very difficult. You're gonna have to go through things, and things are gonna come up that you don't want to face. I always say it's the easiest and the hardest, most difficult work you're ever gonna do in your lifetime. And it's like the journey. It's the longest journey you're ever gonna take, but it's also the shortest journey, because it's really the journey from here down to here. And so it's only a foot, 12 inches from your head down into your heart, but it's the longest journey that you're ever going to take. But once you get there, it's a familiar place, and you know how to get home much quicker. But to get there in the first place is very difficult. But I thank you guys so much for tuning in and for coming on this journey with me, and I hope it provides value for yourselves and other people out there if you want to share it with them. Because as much as I don't want to put people on timelines or create timelines, that's why I try not to talk about current event stuff, and I try to talk about stuff that I've experienced and that I've transcended, because we can't take anybody farther than what we've gone through ourselves. And I've mentioned that before on my show. I had a friend who used to be a quitting smoking counselor, and she never smoked. And it's like, what the fuck do you know about quitting smoking? Like, I want the person who's, doing 3 packs a day to teach me how to quit smoking, not somebody who's never smoked, because you have no idea. You have no idea what it's even about, what addiction's like, or the fact that we had entities. You didn't tell me about entities. So anyways, but that's the whole point, is that of doing this show, is to, hopefully there's people out there that have either gone through something similar, maybe worse, or hopefully not worse, because I've gone through a lot of crap, but I want to show people that you can heal from it. So if I have one mission here, it's as I connect with my spirit and my divinity within, and I heal myself, I'm doing the best I can. And I've come so far in the past 10 years, and so far in the past few years, that I didn't even know there's things that I'm transcending, things that are happening with my body, filling it with more light, getting energetic releases in parts of my body and parts of my spine and neck and back and shoulders that I didn't even know I needed to release, that I like, it's like I'm not even the same body or same person I was before, because I'm getting more spirited. I'm able to hold more of me in me now. And it's like, I was so out of alignment before, it was crazy. And so you don't know what you don't know. So wherever you are today is okay. And it's one step at a time, one step at a time. Just, I walked for probably 15 kilometers today, one step at a time, just one step at a time. And that's all we can do, is one step at a time, because our point of power is always in the present moment. And, in this seemingly sequential, time-based reality, it's just movement by movement. Now, even though they can start and stop time and copy and paste stuff, we'll get into that stuff in another episode. But just, wherever you are is where you are, and just trust that there's something so beautiful inside of you that is literally source energy. It's what animates our bodies and all the universes of light. It's creation energy. It's magnificent. And just trust that it's inside of you. And even when the days are dark and it doesn't seem like things are going well, just go for a walk or whatever, do some qigong, do the commands, do some clearings, do whatever you need to. Go in the forest, remove yourself from, people, places, and things. I command my spirit and body to remove any and all energetic cords to or from you now. Perfect. Amazing. And you just want to be in a relaxed, peaceful state doing it, knowing that it works, and getting out of that fear. And it's difficult, because I've gone through, and I'll talk about that as the episodes go on. The past couple of years have been really frustrating for me in a lot of ways, but really beautiful, because I don't know if I would have, that's dark side. You got to go through the bad to feel the good. That's dark side energy. And in the light, there's no tests, there's none of that. So, but that's the way she works apparently here. So it has allowed me to transcend a lot of things, but just be grateful for where you are, and just know that where you are now and where you're going to be in a few years, just keep doing the work, because you're going to get to this state where it's like, I can't even believe some of the moves and some of the things that I'm doing with Tai Chi and Qigong, and stretching and stuff like that. Like, I thought, because I had back injuries and knee injuries and hip injuries, I never even thought I would be able to move in some of the ways that I am now. I couldn't even bend over to tie my shoelaces without like breathing heavily, and I couldn't even bend over, because I was 250 pounds and out of shape, and I was not. And so it's like I'm not even remotely the same person. I've created a new body for myself, and it's wonderful, and you can too. And that's what it's about, is creating that foundation, because your body is the foundation. It's the temple for your spirit. And I didn't always treat it like that, and I was horrible to it. And I thought, like, I don't know if I mentioned it on a previous episode, but a few weeks ago was the first time where I was like downstairs doing qigong, and I was doing some massaging all my legs and stuff like that. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I hugged my leg, and I was like, I'm fucking beautiful. And not in this like egotistical, narcissistic way, not like looking in my mirror, my reflection, but like my body, like my spirit, like whatever, my energy, I am fucking beautiful, and so are you. And we have source energy in us, and we can grow it, and we can get our spirit back to us, and we can increase our life force energy, and we can create a better, more peaceful life with the divine, instead of being in direct opposition to it with thoughts and mind energy, because that's in direct opposition to the light when we're thinking, instead of creating in the moment. And so just trust that you're going to be stick with it. Watch these episodes over again. Go, use the resources that I share. Don't give up. Just keep going, keep trusting, keep growing your light. And there's going to be times where you fall back and you forget, and it seems dark and everything, and you're going to feel like it's not working. And I still have those days. There's good days, there's bad days. The energies are weird, and it's not all you. Sometimes it's our diet. Sometimes it's who knows what the dark side has going on special dates, on, that all those energies where there's holidays and people doing certain things on certain dates. Like religious holidays, even, energies on the solstice and all that stuff. We don't know what they're doing with those pools of energies. It's good or bad, doesn't know. And we don't know. There's so much we can't see, and we don't understand, and we don't know who or what is utilizing that energy in what ways. So just get off those timelines. There's no special dates, there's no special time. The time is always just right now. There's no moment that's more holy than others, more sacred than others. Every breath is sacred, every moment is sacred. So when you can really remove yourself from all that other crap, you remove the destination addiction, you remove the anticipating future events, you remove the looking back on the good old days, and you just appreciate how beautiful this moment is. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I appreciate you listening, and as always, please let me know if there was this one might not have had any tips or tricks like the creative scheduling like the last episode, but hopefully you got some value from it. And as always, drop a comment or a question or whatever, send me an email, whatever it is. I always enjoy hearing from you guys, and I hope that you're becoming best friends with your spirit in this now moment, because that's truly all we have, and it's the most important thing that we can do in this lifetime. And I'm grateful to help anybody that I can, through my story and through me doing the work to understand that it's not unattainable, that no matter how far you've gone down the rat hole, I've been in hell multiple times. But we can take, it's like hitting rock bottom and taking those rocks and building the stairway or the foundation to our future. So if I can provide any value, it's that I've been in very dark places. I've had a lot of addictions. I've had a lot of bodily trauma, a lot of traumas and dramas. And if I can get out of it, if I can heal, if I can create a better foundation for my future, and heal and live presently in the moment and grow my spirit, call my spirit back, retrieve it from all the nonsense, all the places that it was stolen from, you guys can too. And it's a journey, it's a process. It's not a snap your fingers and done. Well, maybe it is for people who have high spirit energy. There might be some of you, but that's not who this show is for. This show is for people who are working through it in real time, and who maybe had a lot of DNA history and a lot of stuff to work through. It's possible, and you can do it. And I'm here doing it with you. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Wishing you much peace and awesomeness until we meet again.